Hey friends, welcome to the Art Center of Highland Park's Fall Art in a Box with me, Miss Anna. Our first project is a tape resist painting. So the first thing you're going to want to do is gather all your materials from your box. The good part is most of the materials, almost all of it, are provided for you for this project. In your box, you want to grab your canvas board, your masking tape, your 1-inch paintbrush, and your pre-made acrylic paint kit. Also make sure you grab a little container of water, whether it's a jar or a plastic container, just something to rinse your brush. Things you always want to have in hand when you're doing art in a box with Miss Anna is a ruler, a pair of scissors, a pencil, and a marker. All right, here we go. Okay, now that we've gathered all our stuff, let's get started. I have a slightly larger canvas than you guys have that came in your kit. Because I want to show you 4 different techniques that we're going to use. And so I have a larger canvas, I divided it into 4, and I did get started on some just so that we could talk about it a little bit more and then you don't have to watch me do. So I'm going to start with my number 1 blank side of my canvas. And for this, we're just going to talk about basic resist. So the idea of this project is to use tape as a resist that will repel the paint when we put it on. And I think this is a really fun project because you can make it very simple, you can make it more complex, you could really do a nice wall piece for your room or just for a piece of art to hang on the wall to admire. So that's why I chose this for this project. So we're going to start with our number 1 blank canvas. So option number 1 is to do just a simple, what I like to call triangle resist. You've probably seen these all over the place. They're super popular. So what I'm going to do is use the tape as a line. Fairly simple. So you have to always remember where the tape is on the canvas is where the color will not be. So when you're finished painting it, wherever the tape is will be white, which in this case, okay? So what I'm going to do is use my tape as a line. And I always like to start with just one basic plane, and it could be anywhere. Maybe we'll move it up here a little bit. Oh, and I want to make sure that I'm overlapping the tape lines when I overlap a line because I want to make sure that I have crisp lines. And then I also want to make sure that I'm pressing it down. So once I put the tape down, the masking tape down, I'm going to really make sure that I press it because we want to make sure that it resists. And then I'm going to go maybe over to the corner here and up. And then I'm going to use my scissors or an X-Acto knife if you feel comfortable. Because I want to make sure, again, that I don't have any tape hanging over. Because I want crisp lines. So I'm just going to keep going and I'm going to keep eyeballing and looking for areas or ways to use my tape as a line to create a triangle. And they don't have to all be triangles. You can make some funky, I'm sure, like parallelograms and all that jazz. But I'm just going to try to keep it pretty. I don't want to go all the way across. I want to try to keep it from going all the way across the space. Because then I feel like if you do that where it goes, like if I have a piece of tape that goes diagonally across or straight on a vertical or parallel or a perpendicular line, I just feel like your eye would constantly be drawn to that. And I feel like it might be really distracting. So I do like to kind of break up the lines a little bit. And again, using my scissors when I need to make sure that the line is straight or overlapping. So you can see like I have that crummy line and I overlap it. This is hanging over just a little smidge. If you are using your X-Acto blade, just make sure you're not cutting through your canvas. You should have a board, so that should be a little easier. And I'm just going to keep going. Creating some really fun shapes. Triangles, keeping it real here, keeping it triangular. You can do as little or as many as you want. I think I might kind of like that. And then I'm just going to go and press. I have as many as I like. I'm going to just go and press all of my edges of my tape down and make sure that it's really stuck on the canvas. Okay, so that is resist option number 1. All right, and that we'll call using the tape as a line, number 1. Number 2 is lettering. So you can do a monogram, which is like your initials. You can make a sign. So I'm going to make one. I already did one word. It says it's going to say make art. You could do a sign for a cause that you're really passionate about. You could do your name to hang on your wall. You could do words that you love, joy, whatever. So to do the lettering, it's pretty easy. I do like to plan it out beforehand, maybe on a piece of paper. You could write it out. It could be a piece of paper the same size as your canvas. You could write it out so you know that you're spacing right. You just have to account for the thickness of the tape, right? So this is like, I think this is 3/4 inch tape. So I'm just going to do the word art. I'm going to make it I'm going to make it larger than the make. And I'm going to do it right here. And I'm going to change the shape of my letter a little bit. So I'm going to make a pointy A. So I'm going to start by just a diagonal line. Again, here I can even use my X-Acto knife. If you have an X-Acto knife, they work really great because you can cut really simple. Just make sure if you are using it that you're not cutting through the canvas. Right, and I'm going to make the other part of my A, and I am paying close attention to, just like I spoke of in the first design, I'm making close attention to the edges here. I don't so much care about how straight they are because I almost feel like having it look a little bit like tape might make it look a little funky. And then it just overlaps. So I'm just making a letter. Simple A. We'll go with a lowercase r here. And again, you can see how nice an X-Acto knife is to use. Now, curved lines. That's what we want to talk about. It's impossible to do curved lines with the masking tape. You have to make it into a square. So if you were going to do a P, it wouldn't be like a P rounded. It would be, here, I can even draw it. So like if you were going to do a P, it wouldn't be like a P rounded, right? It would be a P and then a square so that you can accommodate for using the tape accordingly. So for my R, I'm going to go over just a little bit. And I guess I could just leave it at that, but I am going to take and put just a little piece starting at the top, a little piece down. And I'm just going to cut it a little longer so it just hangs over just a little bit here. So that's like a 1/2 inch. And then we'll do my T. And I think I'll go with a capital T just to make it kind of fit a little bit better in my space here. And cut that off. And then I want to make sure that I don't have my T uneven. Okay, so that's the lettering. Super fun, easy. You can challenge yourself and do your name. Again, I did make art. Option, I'm gonna set this so I put the lid on. Option number 3, or idea number 3, is to do a line drawing. So I went on the internet, Google searched, geometric animal drawings. And I found so many cool, very simple animal drawings that you could print out and use as a stencil, or I just even looked at it on my phone and then just kind of tried to reproduce it on my canvas. Again, challenge yourself. You can do this. Like, I know you can handle this. So I love antelopes and deer. So I found a deer one that I liked and I just recreated the image. So I took the image from my phone, kind of spaced it out. It took me a couple tries to get it perfect, but again, geometric animal shapes, Google search it. There was super cute fox, there's bunnies. They show you how to make all sorts of different ones. And I just used the line that was drawn as a piece of tape. So you can see I've got my little antelope here. The last and final is making a stencil or creating like a larger resist. And so this is I started by prepping my canvas with a different color so that what'll happen, instead of getting the white border or the white image, I'm going to have a color. So I went with yellow. I'm doing a fall theme in this one. And so I wanted to make leaves. And again, you could do any kind of image that you want with this technique. It's just how good you are with your scissors or your X-Acto knife. So let's talk about how to kind of create these like patches or stickers. I'm going to set my canvas aside. I have this really good rotary mat that I use for all my crafts, and it's really great because I can stick stuff to it and peel it off. If you don't have an area like that, it's just masking tape, so any kind of non-porous surface, you should be able to do it on like a hardcover book might be a good option if it has like a glossy finish. So what we're going to do is actually create like a sheet of sticky. So I'm just going to take my tape and stick it down and then layer it. So I want to overlay the next piece about halfway. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you kind of want to get an overlap. And so I'm just going to kind of keep doing that until I get a little sheet. And again, I love this sticky mat. If you have something like this, it works great because I can cut on it. If not, it'll be a little trickier. It doesn't mean you can't do this technique, but if you have something you can stick it to. Oh, I was thinking like a cookie sheet, like the back side of a cookie sheet would also be like a good place to do this. You just can't do it, like if you did it on cardboard or something, it'd be really hard to get the tape off. I think before I just did this on my pant leg and it worked fine too, so to make the sticker sheet. So I'm just overlapping the tape and and I think this is probably good, making a little sheet of sticky. And so you can see my mat is pretty nice because I can just, right? And it's just like a sheet of sticky. Another thing that you could use if you have, are like lint roller sheets. Like if you have a lint roller, you could peel off a sheet and just use the lint roller sheet. You could use stickers. If you have stickers, you can use those as a resist. Like those metallic star stickers are great. And I feel like a lot of people have those lying around. So now what I can do is cut shapes out of this. Again, I'm going with my leaf theme. So I could hold it and cut, like here I'll go with like cut a square first, just so I'm not handling this huge sheet here. Makes it a little bit easier to handle. And then I can just cut a leaf out of this. And it is a little tricky with the scissors because the scissors want to stick. But you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And I get like just a pretty simple leaf shape. Go ahead and add that to my collage. So the other thing you can do, again, if you have like a sticker mat, or a mat like this, a cutting mat, is I could just cut like this, and you could draw your shape, like pre-draw your shape, if you're nervous about your cutting skills. You could pre-draw shape. I always wish I knew how to freehand a maple leaf, but I'm never so good at it. And then you could just use your X-Acto knife to cut. And just be careful when you're using your X-Acto knife that you're never cutting toward yourself. The curve line is going to be a little bit trickier to do. I guess that might be easier if you use the scissors, the handhelds. And then I could just peel this off. And I got my little leaf here, and I can carefully peel him off. And it can go, maybe I'll rearrange this a little bit. Here, I can put this guy here. Making sure it's really stuck on, and maybe I need one more for right there. I don't think I'm gonna try my hand at a maple leaf. Maybe I will. Right? Why not? I don't know, gang. I don't know if this is gonna work. Oh yeah. So maybe the free-handed scissors are a little easier than the X-Acto knife. I think it's personal preference, whatever you want to do. However fancy you want to get. So again, if you wanted to do like a tree, or you wanted to do something that was more detailed, you could make the sticker sheet and make larger resists. So it doesn't have to just be the simple line. You could really do like a whole tree, do a bunch of leaves. This one's a little rough. We're going to put that on. So then there's my little final leaf I think I'm pretty happy with. All right, so I've got my 4 samples of Resist. We've got the triangle or the line version. We've got the lettering. We've got an animal line drawing, geometric animal drawings, is what I Google searched. And then we have the leaf Resist or like the sticker sheet Resist. So let's talk about painting. You got your primary colors in your kit. You can mix them and make them into different colors. So for the first one, let me flip this guy around here. For the one where I did the triangles, I think the best option is to paint each triangle a different color. I think that's like kind of the go-to idea here. You've got a 1-inch brush in your kit. You want to make sure you have some paper towel, a little water to clean with, and you're going to start. So I'm going to do some blue. And remember, don't worry about getting the paint on the tape, right? Because that's what the tape is there for. So you would just go and fill in all the triangles. And think about maybe colors that look good together, contrasting colors, complementary colors, maybe this is going in a specific place. You might have to put a couple layers. We'll do green. And that's pretty simple. So you would just continue on filling in. You might have to do a couple layers, couple coats, depending on the color. All right, so you would just go and fill in all your triangles. For the Make Art one, I thought I would do a rainbow. So again, I'm going to blend a little bit with this. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to lay down my base colors, and I'm going to put a lot of paint down. So we're going to go red first. And you can see I've kind of got a little extra red on this edge right here where I'm going to add the orange. And I'm not going to rinse my brush. I'm going to add the orange right in, and where they overlap, I'm going to blend them. So again, I want to layer up that orange on this outside edge. And now I'm going to clean my brush. Make sure it's not really wet. And I'm going to blend this red and orange together right in the middle. And if you have to add more color, like if you're blending and you're finding it's really bleeding, clean your brush and then go back in with the color that you think you need more of. And kind of blend that in. Okay, so I got that nice. I'm going to add some more orange here. I want to leave that trail of orange on this outside edge. Now I'm going to clean my brush because I'm going to go in with the yellow. I'm going to take my yellow. I'm going to go for that crisp yellow line in the beginning. Right, so you can see I kind of pulled the yellow on the sides because it's wide brush. And then now I'm going to come in and blend, keeping the yellow on, blending into the orange. And then before I start to take it up, where I'm blending the yellow out, I want to rinse because I want just yellow. Or I got this like peach color on my brush now. Here we go. And I want to get yellow. Red, orange, yellow. Now we'll do some green. Still got a little yellow on my brush, but I think that's okay because I'm going to go a little thicker up so the green will get up. And then where they mix, we're going to blend them. And you can see how nicely the transition is, how it seems really fluid. Okay, and that's just by how I'm applying the paint and how I'm using my brush. Green, blue. Putting down that base color first. Blending them in. I really like where the blue and the green go. And then I got my light blue blended in, and I'm going to do a little bit of violet here at the end, and I'm actually just going to squirt this on. Which is, I guess, another easy way to do that. You guys probably have tubs of paint. Just going to blend that down. All right, so there's your rainbow. Let me make sure I don't have any paint. All right, so next let's do an ombre, okay? And this I'm gonna go with blues because I feel like that's kind of I'm gonna kind of go with this darker aspect of the rainbow. And I'm gonna go dark to light on the bottom. So I'm actually gonna just go ahead and put the paint right on the canvas. I might put a little purple here at the end, just a little bit. And then we'll go light blue is gonna be the biggest section. And I'm just kind of lining it up here. And then I'm going to go white. And I want white at the bottom here. Okay? I created these lines. I'm going to take my clean paintbrush. And I'm going to start dark to light. So I'm going to just move my paintbrush back and forth. And you can see it starts... Yeah, light. I might have a little too much paint, but I feel like that's okay because I can always just scrape it off. And you might see I might need to add some more dark blue at the top. Now I'm really going to get in here with this white. And I don't want to touch down here because I want that to stay white, so I'm actually going to come and take that white up. I put too much white on my canvas, guys. I'm going to make it work. And again, paper towel, clean brush every once in a while to really get this ombre to kind of bleed into each other. It's looking good. Pull the white a little bit further up. All right, so now I've got the blue pretty well faded. I'm running out of paper towels here. I'm gonna make sure my brush is nice and clean. I can get it nice and clean. And then I'm gonna pull this white down. And I'm just taking off, I did put a little too much white on it. Just gonna pull some of that off. She's making a mess. Making a mess. Make sure that you're in a space that you can make a mess in. All right, so I've kind of got a nice ombre. It did get a little light in the middle, so I can let it dry a little and come back and add some darker blue in here if I want to. But I'm pretty happy with my little ombre. After you do your painting, you gotta let it dry, okay? So before you start going crazy, let it dry. Now for the top, I thought, I'm not gonna do it because I don't have the best space set up for it, but you could do some fun splatter paint with this kind of resist where you could take a looser bristle brush and kind of tap it. And again, I don't have the best space set up for this. You would want to make sure if you're going to do splatter paint that you're in an area that you could splatter and you've got your area covered up because it will go everywhere. And toothbrushes make really good splatter painters. But you could also take your brush because it's a little stiffer and kind of flick it. You can see you start to get and I really want to flick around where my resist is. All right, so those are the techniques. You got the fill in the space, you got making a rainbow, you got an ombre, we got splatter. I could even go and do some sort of like, what's this called? Like sponge painting kind of around where my leaves are if I want them to kind of show up a little bit more. And so the cool thing about having the color underneath is that when I peel up, that color will show through. Where here, where I peel up, it's just gonna be white. So I'm gonna finish working on my canvas. I'm gonna let all this stuff dry, and then we'll have the reveal. Okay, so I've let all of my paint dry on my canvas, and I actually did a little extra detail work because I want to talk to you about when we peel the tape off. So I've already peeled the tape off of my Make Art. I peeled the tape off of the line drawn animal, but I left the tape on the other two, or at least some of it, so we could kind of do this together. So when the paint has dried after you've done your resist, you're gonna go ahead and peel the tape off, which is like, can be the most fun part for some people or can be the most annoying part, depending on your personality. I think it's really fun. It's kind of exciting. So let's just start. I'm going to start at this top one with the triangle. And something to keep in mind is that you might get a little, I'm going to flap this around so that you can see it on the second angle. You might find that on some of them, when you start to peel the tape off, there'll be like a little feathering. That's totally okay. We can hide the feathering. So I'm going to go ahead and peel my tape off, and you can see how fun it is and how crisp, like look how crisp that line is. So you can see I did maybe where the paint was a little more watery. You can see I kind of got some bleeding, but again, I'm going to show you how to fix that if you're not happy with it or if it bothers you. I don't think it's that bad. But when I did the letter, I noticed that it was really feathery in some areas. So you can see I just took and outlined. So you're just going to pull the tape off. This has been on here for a little bit of time, so it's a little tricky to pull off. If you do it within like 24 hours or the same day, it should be pretty easy to peel off. I just wanted to make sure the paint was not tacky. You don't want to do it if the paint is still too wet, because you could smear your paint. All right, and then I'm going to take off this crossbar one that I had going across the canvas just so we can see. Ooh, that one's a little tough because I put it on the board. So you could see the division of the projects. So again, like, how fun is peeling this tape off? It's super satisfying. I know you guys get down on stuff that's satisfying. This is real satisfying. Ooh, yeah, look at that. And so I love how you get this really nice border. So let's just focus on the triangle. I'm gonna get my tape off my finger. Let's just focus on the triangle one for now, okay? So what we're going to talk about here is what we can do to make things look more complete, to make them look more finished. Maybe we want to add more details. So let's talk about feathered lines first. So over here I have this very feathered line. The blue bled a lot. I think it's because I mixed colors and I did use a wet paintbrush, so the color bled a little more. On the ones where I didn't use a wet paintbrush, they didn't bleed a lot. So that's something good for you guys to know before you get started, is that make sure your paintbrushes aren't super wet when you add the paint. Okay? So to fix any bleeding line, I can choose. Do I want to do blue or do I want to do white? Do I want to add something over? I think on this one, because the spacing on this is so perfect with the width of the tape, I could decide maybe I want to outline every single triangle in one color. So I could do every triangle outline in black, which I think is probably what I'm going to go for. But before I do that, I want to take some white paint and paint over any of the bleeding. If you could do a different color, maybe I decided that I want all the white to be pink. I don't have pink paint, but I could mix pink paint, right? Red and white. Mix it together, maybe add a little purple if you want it to be a little fuchsia-y. And I could paint all of these white lines a different color, but I'm going to stick with the white. So I'm going to touch it up, and I'm just going to take a little white paint, and you should have white paint in your kit. And I'm going to take a paintbrush. You're going to use you got your 1-inch. I have a whole little collection over here, so maybe I'll take a little smaller one. And I'm just going to take the white paint and I'm just going to touch up over the blue. Now it might take a couple layers to get all the blue to go away, depending on the darkness of the color. Also, if you're going to do an outline, if there's like a little bit of color showing through, chances are once you get that high contrast outline on there, you're not going to notice, nobody's going to notice this little tiny speck of color that bled a little bit. But if you're really stressing about it, you can see I can touch it up with that white, and I need one more coat where it's a little darker, but that starts to all go away. Okay, so I can touch up anywhere where I got some bleeding that I maybe didn't want. And again, this is going to take you guys some time. Like, this might not be just, a one and done in an hour craft, which some of the projects will be. But this might be something that you work on for a couple weeks or a couple days, or you work on it one day, 1 week, and then you wait a week and let it dry and work on it again. So don't feel like I feel like, especially if you've taken a in-person class with me before, I always say take your time, make sure you're doing it how you want. There is no time limit in art. So we can, people work on masterpieces for years of their lives. So don't feel like you got to get this done in 15 minutes and be done with it. You can definitely come back to it. Okay, so you can see how nicely on these areas, I could speed it up, I would. Let it dry a little bit. But you can hardly see, especially with this green. This green the white covered the green really well. So I would just let that dry. And then I can come back in and do my outline. And again, if you only got a 1-inch brush in your kit, but if you have other brushes, you can grab them and use those. And then let me just show you, I'm just going to talk about, this is what I did for the make art, is I just went with a thinner brush and some black paint, and you can see how crisp and nice it looks after I did that. And again, there are some little bleeding areas. I don't care. I like it. It's art. It makes it unique and different. But you can always come in, and I think this will look really neat. It'll make it look a little bit more like stained glass. So the key to making a straight line, let's talk about it, is a steady hand. So I will typically hold my paintbrush like a pencil because I really want to make sure I get a straight line. I'm going to rest, that's wet. I'm going to rest my hand on my canvas, and I kind of guide it with my other hand, and I just make sure that I'm holding it real steady. And what I do is I dip the brush, and I'm going to do one line. So here, let me do an area that I haven't done yet. So I'm going to dip my brush in the paint. I'm going to rest my hand on the canvas. I'm holding it like a pencil, making sure I don't have tons of paint. And I'm just going to kind of hold my hand steady, and I'm just going to do one. I'm not going to try to do the whole line. I'm just going to do until my paintbrush starts to run out of paint, and you can see where the line starts to get thinner. So that is a start. Then I'm going to go back in and get more paint, because when you do a line, you want the line to stay even and consistent. So what I'm going to do now is where the line had become thinner when I started to run out of paint, I'm going to go up about to where the line is thick again, and then I'm going to start there, and I'm going to pull the paintbrush towards me. And what that will do, it will ensure, and again, I'm going to pull it until it starts to run out. It'll ensure that this line stays nice and even all the way around. Okay, so that's really nice outline. If you don't have smaller brushes and you still are like fretting about the outline, Sharpies will work. So you can get, this is kind of a crummy black Sharpie, but you could also use a Sharpie And again, you're probably going to have to use a fresher one. This one's like kind of mashed and older. But you can come with a Sharpie. The Sharpie will draw on your canvas as well. And again, that's a little bit more common, a little more easier for you to handle. So if you really are hankering for those really crisp lines, think about other ways you can make a crisp line. And again, if you know me, you know what I'm going to say. Use a ruler. So if I really wanted to make sure I could put my ruler down, come in with my Sharpie or what have you, my paintbrush, whatever. And then I'm able to get that really crisp line. And then you can see I overlapped here, so I'd have to come back in with my paint and touch it up. Or just leave it because, you know, that's fun. The other cool thing and fun thing with Sharpies too is you can come in and create designs in your negative space. So where we pull the tape off, I could come in here and maybe I want to start to create, and let me flip this around. Is that easier? I can come and create maybe some pattern or something in my blank space to make this look more different or more unique. And I could do something where I do the opposite of the rainbow. So I started with, blue and violet and went to green or whatever. Maybe I start over here and then move the rainbow the opposite way. And what you can do is just draw little patterns using your Sharpie. And it really creates this really nice, using different mediums, really creates like a really unique, different kind of canvas, something that's really fun. So we talked about pulling the tape off. We talked about feathered lines, covering up with white, going over and outlining with black or darker colors. I'm going to talk about the last two parts of my canvas before I let you go do your work. I did on the leaf one, I painted it yellow, and then I put my stickered leaves down, and then I went ahead and painted over with an orange, and then I splatter painted over that. So you can see I got this like wild pattern. Because these were the sticker sheets that I made, they are a little trickier to get off because the paint, right? Because I painted it once, I put the sticker down, and then I painted over again. And it's acrylic paint, so it's got like it dries like a plastic. So it's a little trickier to get the leaves off. So I am using an X-Acto knife. You could use like I was just thinking of something I forgot. You could use something else. I used a knitting needle earlier. I'm sure you could find something sharp around your house to use. And just to peel off those little pieces. And I love this one. It's kind of fun. It's a little funky. But you can see I splattered after I peeled off. So one leaf has splatter on it. But then I was going around again with a darker color. I mixed up a little red and orange to kind of stick with this kind of fall theme. And some of these are a little tricky to get up. And I went around and started outlining my leaves. And then what I was thinking of doing is I could get a leaf from outside and paint the vines and then press those over the leaves that I had. Because I think that would look really, really cool. I was just kind of I made a darker red-orange color. And I was just going around and kind of outlining them again. Personal preference. But you can come in and add some details. Maybe I want to make this look a little bit more like a leaf. It's kind of a funky paintbrush. Or maybe I add some veins. And this kind of technique, using the splatter paint and the layering of the paint, really is reminiscent of like a collage. So you could multi-medium this for sure. You could add some other mediums to it, glue some stuff on there, get some real leaves and put them on there. I mean, you could really, if you wanted to go with like a fall theme, you could paint little pumpkins like around the edge. You could do some lettering with the word fall, whatever you want. You could like write a fall poem over it. So that was the sticker paper relief. So let's move on to my deer head. I pulled the tape off a while ago. I wanted to see when I pulled the tape off wet if it made a difference with the bleeding. It didn't. And I think I used a little too much paint with this one. And so you can see the line really bled a lot. I'm not mad about it. How can you be mad? So I was going to opt for a dark blue and go around, and I won't bore you with this, but I was going to go around and kind of give it a nice solid outline. I think it would look really neat. And then I had this idea to kind of create like a starry night scene over it. So I thought I'd show you how to make like a little reusable, easy, quick stencil. So I have some cardstock paper. This is actually just watercolor paper, but you could use cardstock, you could use cardboard, whatever you want. I'm going to make a star. So I'm just going to use my pencil. I wish I could like draw the star out without having to do like the cross, but I have to cross it. This is the way my brain works. So I can really perfect my shape. And then what I'm going to do is use an X-Acto knife to cut out the star. So I'm going to be very careful, make sure my fingers are out of the way. These are really tiny little cuts. But I think you guys can handle it. And again, who's to say you're going to do exactly what I'm doing? And that's the thing, is I'm showing you guys, you don't have to make exactly what I'm making. The idea of these videos and this kind of art in a box is, and if you've had me in class before, you know, I love when you guys like tune into your own creativity. And that's the joy of art, is that it's super personal and it's super about you and the time that we're in and the place that you are. So these are just tools that you can use to make your own. And I really hope that you take some time and think about it and make them really unique and share them. Share them with the Art Center. Share them with me. So I made a little die cut, right, to cut out my little star. And then I'm going to use my tape again because I want to be able to reuse it over and over again. And the tape works as a resist. So I'm just going to take, and I'm going to envelope. I want to make sure that there's tape on all sides of my little star here. So you want to make sure there's a border of tape around the paper because the tape is semi-waterproof-ish. It's not porous like the paper, so it won't absorb the paint, which will be nice so that you can reuse it a few times. And then now I have it like totally encased in this little tape pocket. And I like this because I have this little tab, extra tab. Now I'm going to take and use my X-Acto knife and cut out the part that's just the tape. So where the tape kissed, right, which would be where I had already pre-cut out the star. And it should be pretty easy to cut that out. So now I've got like a little star template. And then I can put it on my canvas. So I'm going to hold it down, and I want to make sure I hold it down pretty tight. I want to make sure I'm using a dry paintbrush. I don't really have a dry one over here, but I'm going to dry one. Because if you use a wet paintbrush, it's going to make the paint runny, and then we're going to get a little bleeding. And I'm going to dab some of the paint off because I don't want a ton. And I'm going to dab the paint onto the stencil. And then I'm going to carefully pull it up. And I get this kind of, and I love that it's feathery like my other painting. And I probably just, the more you do it with the same paint and paintbrush, the less likely it will be to bleed. So you can, to avoid bleeding altogether, do it first on a scrap piece of paper and then go onto your canvas. So I was thinking I'd put stars all over my little canvas here. And then what I was thinking I would do is after I've done the outline of the deer and it's dried, I could resist, so I could mask off with the tape around the deer head, and then I wanted to paint a scene in his little face. So what I would do is, now that this is dry, I want to mask everywhere that's, I'm not going to do the whole piece, but like around the white. And because I'm going to mask over the paint, I'm going to stick this on my clothes before I stick it down here. So it's not super sticky, so I don't peel any paint off. But what I'm going to do here is aim to go around my little deer head and mask. And I'm not going to go too far out. I'm not going to get crazy here. So I just need to be the width of the tape away. So I'm like remasking my canvas. And then what I was going to do is come in and paint like a mountain scene or some trees or something. So if I wanted to maybe paint, again, I'd have, if I were doing this in real time, we're going to channel our inner Bob Ross. And if you don't know who Bob Ross is, look it up. We'll put a happy little tree right here. And the cool thing is that when I resist, it won't get where the blue is, right? And so I thought it'd be cool to do like a little mountain scene. And again, I would tape all of the blue up first, and then I would peel it off. And then anywhere I got the black where I didn't want it, when I peel the tape off around, it'll peel it off. So it'll look like, and you can see this is a great example right here. It'll look like the scene or the picture is behind the image of the deer, which I think would be really cool. And then stars all over. So you can really go to town on these, make them really cool. If you wanted to, I think you'll probably have a canvas I think your canvas is about the size of one of these, or like a piece of paper, notebook paper. So you could divide it into 4 and try all 4 if you want. You could divide it in half. You could do one. You could try it on another canvas that you get yourself. So I really hope that you guys take some time and think about it, think some things out, get all your materials ready, and then good luck. So I hope you enjoy as much as I did. This is Miss Anna, and I'll see you next time.